Hi, my name is Ashish and I'm from India. Today I'm going to talk about Sanskrit. And when we talk about Sanskrit, of course, it is one of the oldest living language which is still spoken around the world. Now, Sanskrit is a classical language of South Asia belonging to Indo-Aryan branch of Indo-European language. Actually, the origin of Sanskrit dates back to later Bronze Age. Sanskrit is the sacred language of several religions, for example, Hinduism, Buddhism, and also Jainism. When we talk about Hinduism and Hindu philosophy, Sanskrit is the most important language which we generally consider. Now, if we talk about when it all started, so we can start with the Vedic Sanskrit, which was mentioned in Riga Veda, and it was a collection of 1028 hymns composed between 1500 BCE and 1200 BCE by Indo-Aryan tribes. They were migrating initially from Afghanistan across northern Pakistan, and they were coming towards northern India. When we talk about grammar of Sanskrit, it is started by Maharshi, which is the meaning for great saint, and his name was Panini. He was a great grammarian of his time, and he wrote a book which is called Ashta Adhyayi. Ashta in Sanskrit means 8, and Adhyay means chapters or lessons. So each of these 8 chapters, they are comprised of 4 pada, which means I can say the quarters. Each chapter was comprised of 4 pada. So there were total 32 padas. Now each pada was having its own series of grammatical statement, which is called sutras. Now these sutras are actually, if I translate it to English, can be called formulas, but actually they were talking about different topics, functions, and organizational constraints. Now, when we talk about Sanskrit in general, in the past, it was all vocal. It was in the form of oral storytelling. Now, you might have heard about the Sanskrit epics, which are called the 2 of the epics. The first one is Mahabharata, the Great War, and then the second one is Ramayana. Now, Mahabharata, or like in Sanskrit we say Mahabharata, so it is actually the story of 2 families, which is actually helped by Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna's story is also involved here. And in Ramayana, which we English normally we say Ramayana, that is the story of Lord Rama. And all these, both of these epics were written in epic Sanskrit in the northern India between 400 BCE and 300 AD. Now that was the period which can be compared contemporarily to the classical Sanskrit. I already mentioned about Rig Veda, and I was also telling about the Sanskrit in the past was only in the oral format. Why? Because the masters of those time thought that the language should be living. It should be passed from generation to generation. It should not be in a way that, for example, if I'm reading a book of 4,000 years old, so maybe it will not be relevant today because every period is different, every time is different, and the knowledge should be living. So that was the understanding of that time. When we talk about modern Sanskrit, um, the the modern form of Sanskrit or the written Sanskrit is in the form of Devanagari Lipi or Devanagari script. Before talking about Devanagari, I would like to tell you that even though in that period the Sanskrit was oral in nature, it was really contemporary at that time, and it was based on the method of memorization of exceptional complexity, rigor, and fidelity. Now, Sanskrit status, function, and place in India is at the top today. I can say Sanskrit is very important in the terms of today's time, today's study. If I talk about Sanskrit in today's period, like I was saying, in two of the states, it is the recognized language. I mean, it is the official language in two of the state, and it is one of the language which is included in the 8th scheduled languages in the Constitution of India. India doesn't have an official language. I can say India doesn't have one language which you can say that this is the national language, but Sanskrit is one of the 22 scheduled languages like Hindi. So Sanskrit has same status as per constitutionally in India like Hindi. In the past, Sanskrit was taught in Gurukul or Gurukulas. Gurukulas were the schools of that time where the student has to go to the master in his ashramas or ashram, and there they renounce almost everything, all the comforts, and it doesn't matter if you are a prince or if you are a pauper. It doesn't matter because you will receive the knowledge, the language in the same form. Everybody is equal. If I talk about today, so the Sanskrit is taught up to senior secondary level in Central Board of Secondary Education in India, and it is one of the optional subject in after high school. Before high school, it is mandatory in northern part of India, and as far as my knowledge is concerned, I'm sure it is taught in every part of India today, up to high school. It's an important and mandatory subject up to high school. One of the oldest school of Sanskrit in the modern era was Benares Sanskrit College, which is called Sampurnanand Sanskrit University. It is considered one of the oldest university in the modern era of Sanskrit in India. It was founded in the year 1791 during East India Company rule of British era. Sanskrit continues to be widely used in ceremonial and ritual language in Hindu and Buddhist culture. One of the thing, Sanskrit is gaining more and more importance and popularity in today's period because of yoga, Ayurveda, and a lot of research is being done in the area of Sanskrit. Now we are going to talk about the alphabets which are the part of modern Sanskrit, the Devanagari script. The vowels in Sanskrit are these. I will chant and you can see these on the screen. A, I, U, U, Ri, 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 A, O, I, Ow. The first line which you see here is long and short in nature. For example, A, A, I, E, U, U. Now we are going to see the consonants. So the consonants in Devanagari script or Devanagari Lipi is divided in certain categories. The Sanskrit consonants are really about voice, about sound, and from which part of the mouth or the neck or the it is coming from. So the first one is velar, which is actually coming from this part here, I mean the neck, and the velars are ka, kha, ga, gha, anga, cha, cha, ja, jha, iya. These are the palatal, which are spoken from the top part, which is the palate. Now comes the retroflex. For the pronunciation of retroflex, we can feel like if this is our tongue, it should be turned in this way, and then we can just throw it out. So the first one in the retroflex category is ta, tha, da, dha, ana. And then comes the dental category, in which we use our teeth, and they are ta, tha, da, dha, na. The next category is labial. So the labial is the one which we use our lips to pronounce. Pa, pha, ba, bha, ma. Now we have some other forms of consonant like sonorants and fricatives. So they are, you can see in the palatal one is ya, and one of the sibilant is sha. Now in the retroflex, the sonorant is ra, and the sibilant is sha. In the dental, we have la, and the sibilant is sa. The labial is va. We have two other letters which are ha and la. Devanagari script is used as the foundation of Hindi as well, but there are minor differences between Sanskrit and Hindi alphabets. These differences can be spoken or can be understood in the form of the language which has influenced Hindi, because Sanskrit is very old language. It is not influenced by other language. I mean, in terms of the modern language or medieval period language. But Hindi is highly influenced by English, Persian, Urdu, Arabic. So that is why in Sanskrit we don't have a pronunciation like fa, but in Hindi we do have. Similarly, there are some conjunct consonants which exist only in Hindi. They are not used in Sanskrit. So this was a brief introduction about Sanskrit, and thank you so much. Have a nice day.